This podcast is sponsored by Chimby, the career advice search engine. Go to chimby.com and search the web's best collection of career advice. That's chimby.com. Welcome to Secrets of the Job Hunt, everyone. This is the podcast edition. I'm your host, Chris Russell. My guest today is Lindsey Pollak. Lindsey is a writer, editor, and speaker specializing in career advice and women's issues. She's the author of a brand new career advice book for college students and recent grads called Getting From College to Career, 90 Things to Do Before You Join the Real World, published by HarperCollins. Welcome, Lindsey.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Now, I talked to Alexandra Levitt last week about college grads and got her advice, but I know you have some interesting thoughts on the subject, so let's jump right in, shall we?
Thanks.
Okay. What are the biggest mistakes college students and recent grads make in the job search, would you say?
Some of the biggest mistakes are not mistakes because people aren't smart or they don't know the right things to do. It's really about taking action. So the biggest mistakes students make, for instance, are spending too much time job hunting online, only going to the big job hunting sites and not talking to people in person. I think every job search has to have a combination of both of those two strategies to get ahead. And another big mistake students make is not following the typical rules of being polite, saying thank you, being gracious, dressing properly for interviews in a suit. Just those basics of professionalism sometimes get in the way of a student getting a job.
Right. Okay. If a student is graduating and doesn't have a job yet, what are some of the advice you give them at that point?
Right now, a lot of students are panicking, so That's a very fair concern. I would advise a student who doesn't have a job yet to do a couple of things. The first is to cast a wider net. So if you've been only looking at Fortune 500 companies, maybe start looking at smaller firms, maybe start looking at nonprofits, government jobs, university jobs, hospitals. There's so many different types of employers, and often we get caught in whatever we've started our job search on. Maybe it's just the companies that recruit at the college we went to. So cast a wider net in terms of employers. Next thing I would recommend is if you need to start making money right away, which a lot of students do, try to do temp work or a part-time job somewhat related to the field that you want to go into. So if you want to go into publishing, I'd rather see you working at a bookstore than waitressing.
Right.
Temp to permanent is a huge trend right now, so if you can even get your foot in the door as a temporary employee, that's going to be better than doing nothing. So try to do part-time money-making work that's at least somehow going to add to your resume and add to the discussions you can have in future job interviews that lead to that full-time job that you're really hoping for.
I would also add, too, working for a small company, you really wear a lot of hats, and I think you learn a lot more than you would in a big Fortune 500 company. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I started at a nonprofit with 4 people, and they were so terrific with me, bringing me to events, mentoring me. I really got to do lots of different stuff that I might not do at a big company.
Right.
I actually interviewed a young woman in the book who worked for a woman entrepreneur, and she said, yeah, you don't get a lot of colleagues, and you might not have a big HR department and a softball team in the summer, but if you find someone to work for, that could be a lifelong relationship that just helps you grow into the future if you have a good mentor and somebody who's willing to show you the ropes.
Awesome. Okay. Now, your book offers 90 things to do before you join the real world. We won't go over all of those, but give us a few of the most important ones, would you?
Right now, a lot of what I tried to do in the book is talk about the current job scene, what's happening in the world right now. So I thought the tip I would give today is related to email and your online presence. I think it's so important.
Yes.
Email is probably the way that you're going to reach out to a lot of people. And the tip in the book is email like a professional.
Okay.
Limit the number of exclamation points in your email. That's a big mistake a lot of students make, is looking very young and overly enthusiastic. Make sure you use proper grammar and spelling. None of that instant message or text message speak that a lot of us use all the time now. Make sure your subject lines are descriptive enough.
Yes.
Networking for a job opportunity, hoping to ask you a few questions. A lot of students often leave that blank or just put a very simple subject line. And another tip is to avoid writing emails that are too long. A lot of us are really busy out in the workforce, and students compose these long emails. Just know that emailing in the professional world can be quite different than what you've done with your friends or what you've done as a student.
Yeah, I would say HR people are some of the most busiest people in the world, so brevity is key.
Absolutely. And, we say in journalism, don't bury the lead. Don't bury the lead in your email. Get it right up front that you're looking for a job, this is who you are, and this is what you're looking for.
Yep. I also add, too, the signature is a good thing to do as well in terms of just making yourself stand out. Put a little tagline for yourself there. About what you're looking to do, maybe, and stuff like that.
Maybe put your major in the signature line, and definitely put all your contact info. Emails get forwarded so much, especially during a job search.
Yes.
Make sure if somebody wants to contact you right away that all of your information is right there in the email.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about Facebook and MySpace, because they're in the news these days. What's your advice to students and about these tools and other social networking sites?
You hear a lot about them, and a lot of it's negative. First I want to say that I think Facebook and MySpace can be terrific networking tools for students. It's a great way to keep in touch with maybe a student who graduated a year or two before you did in school, talk to some people who work at the companies that you might want to work for, maybe talk to some people in graduate school and think about that path, people in foreign countries. So Facebook is great for networking, but you have to be so careful what you put up on your profile, what you post. I interviewed about 100 recruiters and professionals for my book, and every single one said that they absolutely check Facebook. They absolutely Google job candidates to see what comes up about them. They want to see that you have good judgment and that you wouldn't post anything on the internet to be unprofessional or harm you. So it's okay to put pictures of your friends, but you don't want to put inappropriate photographs, inappropriate language. Just be very careful. I always say give your Facebook page a PG rating and you'll be okay.
Do you have any examples talking to those recruiters about maybe one job seeker that they found that they really were turned off by in terms of their online profile?
Absolutely, and it wasn't even Facebook. A friend of mine is a professor at a university, and she was hiring somebody to work in her lab for a pretty high-paying job, and she Googled him, just, simple Google search, open to anybody, and she typed in his name, and a page came up on a friend's website of this young man, and it had a nickname for him that I won't say on your show.
Okay.
And during the interview, all she could think about was this inappropriate nickname that this kid had, and she thought, why on earth would he leave that information up there when it was so easy to find, and he didn't get the job? And, the point of that being, it wasn't even on his own page. It was something a friend had posted. So Google yourself and make sure, you might think that you're being safe, but make sure nobody's posted anything about you.
Yeah, and if they have, ask them to take it down, right?
Absolutely, and most people will. If something's been printed in a newspaper, you probably won't get it down, but if it's on a friend's Facebook page or a friend's website, if they're really a friend, they'll take it down.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, we're out of time, but I want to thank Lindsey for joining me today. Lindsey, how can people contact you? You want to give out your website or email?
That would be great. My website is gettingfromcollegetocareer.com, or you can look me up on Facebook, Lindsey Pollak.
Okay. And again, the book is out now, right?
Yeah, it's out now. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Borders, or local bookstore.
Okay, it's Getting from College to Career, 90 Things to Do Before You Join the Real World by Lindsey Pollak. Lindsey, thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Okay, that'll do it for this edition of Secrets of the Job Hunt. Stay tuned to secretsofthejobhunt.com for more interesting career podcasts, and be sure to read my blog with more than 500 pages of cool career content. And to contact me, just send an email to info@secretsofthejobhunt.com. Thanks for listening.